Okay. Looks like it works. Figured I should get this thing started today rather than messing around. I'm doing okay. But somehow I managed to do sparring on Friday night, karate, and then later Friday night my knee started to hurt very badly to the point where this weekend I couldn't walk. And even now it's really, really painful to walk. So quite the interesting thing. Did not injure myself during the actual karate. So making for some fun sleep as well because it's a knee. So every time you move or roll or try to get up, it's like, oh dear. But anyway, that's the joys of getting old, I suppose. um, so I figured I should get the stream started. The dogs had settled below me, so I figured I'd get this started up on time today. I've been going through adding more task stuff to try and get the view side done. I was kind of hoping I get it done, but I'm kind of procrastinating a little bit. I'm adding some unit tests as I go, and also making sure I'm thinking about how far I want to go on the first pass because I do have the intention of bringing like the projects and stuff, but I thought, you know what, go with what you've got so far. Don't worry about projects, etc. Don't add all that complexity right this second. Get that in there so you can see the list of tasks. And go from there. Good day, you fluffy-headed grinders. Hi, Grid Square, how you doing? How's things? So let's get, this is a task identifier. Let's get private readout. So, that is the tenant identifier. That is the task identifier. Is the created by user identifier. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. Hope you're well. So after stream yesterday, I did hook in the integration for the task created. So I created the event in Foundation and started building out the components. So, interesting side effect. Doing a guide question. Is Scrimba a good way to learn coding? Is it worth the money for the subscription? Right now, I'm slogging through FCC and find it harder than it should be. Is Scrimba a good way to learn coding? I'm not entirely certain what Scrimba is. The challenge of not having had to do this kind of learning for a while. Sorry. I mean, it depends on what you're after doing. I'm a big proponent of, you know, setting a path set in a direction and then just kind of going finding resources that tell me what I need to know about any given thing at any given time, rather than following actual tutorials. Um, and then maybe looking at a tutorial afterwards. Now I've got more concepts of what it's talking about. Roadmap.sh. All these learning resources, different browsers. But Mr. Jones, like, holy cack. What? Like it's a deliberately choose your own adventure, isn't it? How does the internet work? Interesting. Full stack. Why does full stack look less complicated than backend? Oh, because it goes into the others, that's why. Interesting. That is quite a lot of effort. Anything other than being an aircraft loading supervisor. Been outside too. Is there something that you are particularly interested in right now? Like, does the client side of things um interest you? Like, I know you said anything other than being an aircraft loading supervisor, but is there like a do you like building nice UIs, or do you like building, or do you like the concept of like writing complicated AI stuff in the back end? Holy. Oh no, you just lost me straight away with that one. I'll start with hey, old goody old buddy, old pal. Far too chirpy. I mean, in reality, there's a ton of different ways. Um, Lemnine, unfortunately, by default, the chat doesn't provide doesn't allow links. Welcome in, by the way. If that's a learning link that you're trying to provide, you can whisper me, and I'll open it so I can validate. Kind of broke. I learned my work ethics in the army, so just adapt to what I'm putting to feed me. Gotcha. So you're looking at how do I get to learning and get into a job, practical application. Um, I mean, I'm kind of trying to think about what would I do, you know, starting out again. Um, I think a lot of the way I do learn is because of the way I had to learn, right? When I was young, um, when I was starting, the internet wasn't a wide resource of um, so just reading. That's a good point. Why is my chat disappeared? Focus on fundamentals, try and avoid boot camps, learn the basics in Python, then do a few lead code problems. After that, learn JavaScript and the fundamentals of web dev. Mm. I tend to disagree with the leak code stuff. I don't think leak code helps. Other than practicing, leak code is useful for practicing your analytical skills, um, which is a useful thing, but I don't think it necessarily helps towards learning how to code. Um, but again, I'm saying that from someone who's spent a career doing the way I've done it, right? So, um, I mean, you're clearly motivated, so motivation isn't a challenge. Um, I always recommend trying to find a project that you're engaged in, trying to find a topic that you're engaged in. So again, whether it be agile platform, whether it be um, um, lead code problems have nothing to do with building apps. Yeah, I understand that. They're useful for making sure you understand core CS concepts like algorithm, data structures. Mm, yeah, but again, in most day-to-day development, you're not focused on specific algorithms and data structures. So you focus on tools and frameworks more than that. So depending on what you go into, so I'm not saying that using leak code isn't useful from a understanding perspective, but you don't often get to apply those things in most app development that I've dealt with. So if you're looking at it from a pragmatic, a practical, I want to learn a job, I would say focusing on things like front end frameworks is a useful skill set to learn. Um, Depends on the job. If you orient yourself towards getting a web dev job now by just learning some fashionable web dev framework, you won't have transferable skills, but you can grow the skills. Um, Being capable inside of a web framework is a useful tool. Um, Understanding the concepts within it. So I'm not dismissing the idea of going to leak code. I'm just saying I don't spend a lot of time messing around with leak code stuff because it's not something I do day to day. Maybe my CS core concepts are a little lacking, but I've also spent 25 years as a developer. So I've I've made my way through my career, regardless of having probably lacking core concepts strengths. So yeah, grid square. I mean, obviously we're all gonna have different perspectives based upon where we are in our careers, in our journeys, where we've come from, where we've been. So I mean, if you're looking at it from a learning perspective, learning a framework like React, I mean, React is the more popular one. Spending some time learning your way around that, building up some applications. Um, that's where you're going to get more opportunities right now. Um, Again, Lemnine isn't wrong, and Python is quite popular. Depending on how focused you want to get on the actual specific language from the coding perspective. Learning a back-end language and a front-end language, um, or front-end frameworks and back-end frameworks is useful as well. if only to understand where things fit. Morning, daughter. So, I mean, this looks like a very thorough site. I haven't used it before. These courses look very involved. They don't cost anything. That's impressive. But so these are failing because they are task. And I need to specify task in this context is using task equals system. Ready. That stops that being an error. The challenge of using a reserved or a framework concept will continue to show itself, but I'm not diverting. Okay, so we want to validate that the task was created. We want to validate that the sender received send arg dot is acquire user and acquire tenant. I'm not going to debate whether Copilot is helping me like write the code for me. It's exactly what I was going to write. I don't really care about that. It's saving me a lot of time there. Let's see if the test run. Yep. So now, user ID equals await. User. And then repository dot add async dot no, new task. Tenant ID. What task is that pulling then? Oh yeah, tenant ID. It's created by user ID. What's that? What's that? Don't have the update case yet. So we're going to But worry about it later. Update will come pretty quickly. But we're going to need to. So I want to get the structure in place so that the view is consuming this. So if you're new to the stream, I'm building an application for project management and planning. The goal being to create something that looks like a product, even if it never becomes a product. I'd like to take it there. I think it would be fun to do that. So I'm building it as a full application. I'm building an Angular front end, a .NET backend using a lot of technologies. The general path of the stream is if you are interested in knowing more about the project, if you're interested in the technologies or the methods I use, you're more than welcome to ask. You're more than welcome to chat. I'm always open to discussion about this. And if you feel that I'm doing something incorrect, if you feel that I'm doing something that you don't think I should do, I'm always open to debate. Oh yeah, I did. um, oh no, I read the entire thing. um, yeah. Um, so yeah, if you feel that I'm, you know, uh, off or you like what it's doing and you want to know more, you're more than welcome to talk. More than welcome to chat about it. I want to learn what I need to get into the field with a good job, maybe decent hours, and knowing the better I get, the better my pay gets. Right now, I'm paid less than someone hired earlier in the company with far less qualifications. I load aircraft starting at CIJ 900 all the way up to A380s, either passenger aircraft or cargo flights. Oof. Yeah, it's not an easy job. I had a friend who was um, I mean, you have the work ethic. So I would say what you want to do is just set the time aside to spend some time building your skill set. Um, it's a stressful job in a different direction. Um, depending on where you land, right? Um, give yourself time to figure out what you enjoy the most. Um, so build stuff that you care about, but don't expect to succeed at everything. Don't get dissuaded by not completing something. It is okay to not complete something if you've learned all you need to learn from that thing. So building projects, you know, is kind of a thing where most developers have a lot of projects that are just out there. Um, don't try and uh, don't try and drink from multiple fire hoses at once. There's a lot of should out there. Um, so it's kind of why I'm giving general advice rather than you should learn this, you should do that. I'd say picking up something like a front end framework will give you the skills necessary to be useful to a company. There's a lot of jobs out there. Um, yeah. Um, I'm anti should. You should not listen to the shoulds. No, the shoulds come, the shoulds and the always comes from a good place where people have learned how to do things and they're trying to pass that knowledge down to someone. But sometimes you've got to succeed or fail on your own to understand what that actually means. So at that point, you can take that advice and pick and choose. So I kind of don't follow what people might tell me I should do as long as I'm building software I like. 1,500 commits. That's a lot of commits. What am I up to on Liquid Sky? Oh, 899 contributions in the last year. That's not bad for me, considering a lot of them are massive commits. I've pretty much had one of the busiest years um for me as far as my ow, sorry. I can't sit the way I like. My knees are hurting. Um I mean whatever path you take with Square, there's no right or wrong answer to learning. Lemnine's advice earlier on, if you actually are more academic, that might actually work really well for you to understand a lot of the concepts and a lot of fundamentals. My problem with learning fundamentals and concepts is unless I can apply them, I don't always see the benefits of them. So, like using the right list type or using the right um, data structure for the right problem, sometimes I have to go through that. Um, so it's harder for me. Maybe it's just harder for me to learn because of the way I've learned all the time. But um, build things, build things. I'm a big fan of, is it like get that dopamine hit? So build something small, set your tasks to attainable tasks and achieve something. And then get that, yes, it's working. I see it working. Like this project is built almost to do that exact thing. It's built in the way that I like breaking things up. I can build something. I can see the progress. I'm like, yes, I'm making progress. I'm moving forward. Um, Unless I'm an idiot and can't read, but that's my own problem. Um, so and don't feel that just because you've done something means that's the only way of doing things. Because like I said before, if you're new to the stream and you want to say, hey, you should do this way, I'm happy to talk about that and understand. Maybe there is a better pattern. Maybe there is a better way. Maybe there is something I can learn and grow from, and I'm happy to do that. Okay, so these should pass. These pass, right? Let's make sure they pass for the right reason. Yep, they pass now. Um, we don't need the update case. We do not need the update case right this second. So update task in here. Now add to task. Um, it's very important to understand that I'm not trying to do that. So let's do this. Task, receiver, task, receiver, event receiver of task, integration event, right? Oh, no, it's an event receiver, right? Right. We can implement delete if we need to. So this needs an iSender. So the way this works is when I say receiver, receiver is just it's so that I don't call it a consumer because it's a wrapper around the Kafka consumer. So when I add a task to the system, it gets written to the tasks database, the task component, right? So this component is a set of APIs and stuff with all things related to tasks. So there will be other things in there. When that's added, an integration event fires, which is what I've just hooked up. So it will publish an integration event to Kafka. I mean, technically, I should move this around, and that should be Kafka. going to change the diagram. Going to change the diagram. This may be risky. We've relied upon this for a long time. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. It's a stream. No, he's still gone. So while I'm streaming, Dan often streams. He's building his first game. But it's a really nice place to go and hang out. And I really do wish I could go and hang out in Dan's stream some more. He's using Godot. And it's just a nice place to go and be. Fortunately, he streams at the same time I do. So I don't always get to hang out. So I just look. So this is going to be costly in terms of time. But it's worth doing to correct this. Finally. I should move that for right a second. This sits out here for a reason. But again, there's all sorts. The idea is that there's all sorts of things that hang off of this piece, and they're constantly consuming. I think that was intentional. They're consuming the events of Kafka. And they're publishing back. So realistically, to say that right, that's why I broke integration events out, right? So these guys publish integration events. And other events are published back and forth into Kafka topics, and the view consumes. So this is a consumer. It's a wrapper. It's wrapped around the concept of a Kafka consumer, which is why they're called receivers. These consumers are service bus consumers. So it does help me split what is a consumer versus a receiver. When this receives this, it's basically all it's going to do is it's going to forward it. You could put logic in here. You could do some validation, etc. But ultimately, it's going to pass it to something that needs to make the decision. So we're going to await send new update task dot command. And add is going to start in 3 minutes. One day I will get the bot configured and we'll get some automation around there. So we're going to publish everything in there. That should clear that up. Then we need to go and register that task. So add Kafka services to add transient tasks, task receiver. That's just registering it with dependency injection. and then configure the add event receiver, task receiver. This has no bearing on performance or anything. It's just more visual. Fine. Should be careful as well. I don't miss anything. Requirements, task, tenant, user receiver. Okay, there you go. So this registers this. I do have some further code to do on this where I need to specify which ones of these are turned on in configuration. That means you can build this, and when you run it locally, it'll do all the receivers. But if you run it remotely, you can kind of turn it on or off the ones you want to care about. So you can run multiple instances of the same service and just enable the receivers you care about. So that's that. So we need to create the configuration in the database. So our view is going to have tasks, have ID, big int, not null, key, new column, tenant, identifier, unique identifier, not null, new column, tenant, ID, not null. Title, Envarcar 255, not null. Description, Envarcar max, not null. Created by user ID is an int, not null. So date added, date created, etc. Date added, date updated, etc. are going to matter here. Yeah, they're going to matter. I should have them. View base defines date added, last updated. Okay. We're going to need to track that. Date added, date time, not null, last updated, date time, that's null. Let's create that. So the script, then out. Let's go to scripts, tasks. No, not tasks, view. We'll get into view views in a second. This is 0 and 1. Tasks.sql. Oh, no, that's not that. Edit, rename, make that 14. Primary key, create an identifier. There you go. So we do need to make sure that in our test, again, the test is not perfect. This would actually break. So even if this test passes right now, it passes because we can't enforce the date added date on the thing. So I don't track the date added in the event. I haven't published the event yet, by the way, so there's no harm in this to change this. I've done a lot of stuff here that doesn't have any uh, actual testing because mainly because I'm comfortable with the pattern. I'm comfortable that I can just bring this up and get close to where I need to be the first time. Which, considering yesterday's debacle or the last 5 days debacle, I should probably spend more time on. But showing software development pitfalls and all. I should send they added last updated. So we know when the event occurred, but that doesn't mean anything. That just means the event occurred, so we can track. Oh, the event date doesn't match the last updated. Public date time, date added. Public date time, last updated. That seems to be my standard. Date added equals task dot date added. Last updated equals task dot last updated. So we now have them fields. And t dot date added equals task date added. Same as grid structure. So that needs to have date added and no last updated. So what I'm doing here is actually what gets you into trouble with unit testing, or gets you into trouble with TDD primarily, is if you start to think, oh, I need this, oh, I might need this, oh, I want this. And these sort of patterns, yeah, these are pretty much consistent throughout the system. I'm just basically adding in consistency here, but not even questioning them and not even, just adding them in. Like we don't have the concept of updated. I've already said we don't have the concept of updated. So what am I doing putting last update in there? Well, I'll need it later. Will I? I know where this particular piece of work is going, so I'm making that justification. But in reality, what I shouldn't do is that I shouldn't add that in. I'm just trying to save myself some time later. I know this is about to change anyway once I've got this functional, but just yeah, I would recommend paying close attention to your own behavior when you're writing code like that to make sure that you are. I'm making that sacrifice, or I'm making that decision, good or bad. Right this second. Well, bad right this second, but you should be aware. So that should fail because now the date time isn't passed through. So when we go to update task, we want to do date added equals command dot date added. I'm not going to set the last update there because the last updated doesn't matter. And that's my point. We don't have the concept to update yet. We don't have any of that. So why am I bothering with this? Okay, so we publish on the integration side. We get to there. We have a data table event that they added, event that last update. So we pass them through. When we do the update later, they'll be there and it won't be bad. But we're gonna have to change this all again anyway. We need one more thing. Kafka configuration. name events dot integration dot liquid sky tasks. We need that part. So Kafka configuration. Okay. So again, if you are curious as to what I'm doing, if you are interested in what I'm doing technology-wise or design-wise, if you have any opinions, thoughts, questions, please feel free. Okay. So we have the pieces configured. Let's go and get that table. Let's remove those two. Let's run up the full stack. See what happens. So what I've just been doing is creating the publishing component here. So there's the integration events here. And then I've been creating the consumer component as part of the view. So the event will fire that the task was created. The consumer here will pick that up and create its own version of that task. So yes, the task is kind of duplicated into two places. This is the single source of truth though, right? This is the only task that matters in the entire system. This is what it currently looks like. So when we send a command from the client up into the task API, the focus here is to get that data captured as quickly as possible. No processing, no junk, no messing around with eventing or anything like that from it. It is just stored. When it stores, it will trigger the event. So the commit to the database is there's an interceptor, an entity framework. So once it's committed and saved, then it'll process the events of that entity, so that they're isolated and we have the data. And that's what matters more, right? We've secured the data as quickly as possible. So for adding a task, we are able to return the GUID of the task back to the user as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's refresh that, see if this works. So yeah, then what we're going to focus on, once we've got the record integrating into the view database, we'll then put the view component on it and get the UI listing the tasks. I don't think we're going to get into swim lanes today, but that's the goal. Tables, users. Things are loading. There we go. So we are focusing on creating a task. So again, projects we don't have right now. So we haven't finished this piece until we've got projects in there. Projects are here. And I think that's an important piece to have in. As an engineering group member, I would like to be able to see a backlog of work pending. So that's what we're going to focus on next, is once we've got the actual tasks being added. As an engineering group member, the panel screen is not useful for me. I should be able to navigate to an area of the system that's focused on developer tasks. When navigating these, again, that requirement is not really true. So we go to tasks, we get this. So we're in a completely different perspective, right? That's the goal. we add a task. Adding task is display a list of tasks in the backlog. To represent backlog, we should be to navigate screen. Again, create a new screen for the backlog. Provide icon backlog. When clicked, present list of cards showing tasks in what order they added. Descending. So that will create the task. There's our task created. What we should see is localhost 8080 topics. Oh, so it automatically created the topic. That's interesting. That's a challenge. So there's no subscriber to it because the topic didn't exist when the consumers or the receivers started. So we're going to restart the view consumer or the view receivers. Again, it is a consumer. It's just a wrapper around a consumer. So now that should. No. I'm expecting it to have LS view integration on tasks. Oh, there it is. Oh, there we go. It failed. Okay. Can I insert the value no into column ID? Modify table ID. Amateur hour. That's the modify table. Okay. Have I failed on all of these? But I just failed in that one. Oh, big int identity. Drop that. Shy table. Dan, hello. I should mute that tab to listen to myself. How'd the stream go? I keep the volume pretty low, but I do listen to the stream at the same time. Dino, hello. How's it going? It went fine. I joined you this morning, and the first thing you did was yawn. No, no yawn. Don't yawn. Well, thank you very much for the raid. Thank you for bringing people over. Um, if you have not been here before, I'm not building cool games like Dan is. I am building a project management platform using all sorts of different technologies. The goal being um, uh, nice. So I'm building an agile. I started when I started. I called it an agile management platform or whatever. And basically, it's the goal is to create a planning component separate to the actual work component and allow the two to interact in the right ways so that we can represent the business requirements and the development needs at the same time and understand where pieces are in the process. And what I'm focused on right this second is building out the tasks. So this is a planning item and it has requirements, and these requirements are non-technical necessarily. So these are the functional requirements, I suppose is the right word. And then from here, we're going to create tasks, which are going to actually be the non-functional requirements. By the end, we discuss cool things like microservices, monoliths, AI, and clean code, things that make developers hate each other. Agile is not cool anymore. Cool could use tons of complaining and zero things done platform these days. And that's partially why I'm building what I'm building. Because we keep saying we're doing agile, but agile is just an excuse to just not put any structure around things and say that we've got things done and we can just be done. It's modern waterfall. So what I'm trying to do here is break away the product aspect of it, the planning and product aspect, so that the planning is the most focused component. We'll be able to ask questions, understand the reasons, generate some actual requirements, but not worry about the technical breakdown. From here, one or many tasks can be created for individual requirements. So, this has generated many different pieces of needed work that could be worked on independently, and then build those tasks off of this. So then when we go to a task UI, what I'm working on right now is actually the view side, so that I can build the list and show the list of tasks, but we can just add a simple task right this second. Ultimately, back in planning, you'll be able to go and say, okay, well, let's generate the tasks for this planning item. I'm trying to avoid the word story, so forgive me. This does tell the story. The planning item really does tell the story, but it's not. I'm not trying to align it in wording to Jira because they are slightly different. Not necessarily. Again, Epic is dumping ground, right? Epic becomes dumping ground for, hey, a load of stuff that's always ongoing. I want to kind of guide definition. No, I know that's not Jira's terms, but I'm trying to, because we've become, and I experienced this recently, we've become so ingrained in Agile and Scrum is Jira. I don't want to try and overlap. So So as far as an epic goes, a single planning item could be an epic. A single requirement could be what we actually call an epic right this second. The goal is to try and make it so that they don't have to constrain the planning aspect in any given way. So if they want to dream up some crazy requirements, they can do, but a discussion can be had and, requirements narrowed down. And this could be a massive list. It could be one list with, and we create 10 tasks off it or whatever. So the idea is to try and make sure this is understandable at the business level without being constrained by um the rules we impose on ourselves as to what a story should be, what a planning item, what a epic should be, um, where we point, etc., etc., etc. So the points will still go on the tasks. The points still belong to developers. The idea is that this will show, oh, this has got 5 tasks, this has got 3 tasks, this has got 10 tasks, and you'll be able to see the progress towards those things. So as a product manager, I can go in and see it from my perspective, how far along the developers are without caring about where in a board tasks are. That being said, we'll still be focusing some effort on showing your traditional swim lanes, but that's not for a while yet. Everyone hates Jira. It makes itself worse every day in the same team. Everyone uses it. So Jira and tools like it are product tools. They are management tools. They are reporting tools. They are not work tools. And that's why we hate it. They are, hey, where are we with this project? Where are we with this thing? And what happens is, because we don't know how to organize it, we end up in this world of, well, let's create a spreadsheet for that anyway. So we have spreadsheets tracking things in other things that are made to try and track that. So we care about burn down, we care about, progress. Where are we with this? Where are we with that? And they're just reporting tools, they're management tools, not actual development tools. So what I want to do is build this tool so that product can do what product does and developers can focus on the work they need to do and not have to worry about the constraints of, well, we can't write a technical story. It has to have business value. It has to be testable. And we get stuck on those concepts and make stories that make no sense because developers are, yeah. Developers are focused just on this side, the task side. This is their work. So at the point where we are ready for, so so introduce developer tasks. This is in progress now. But once the product designer or the product management team has decided this is ready for actual work to be done on it, ready for planning, they'll go through this and review these requirements for the developers. The developers can ask questions, they can talk about it, again, not technical. The developers can then go off and build the tasks related to these requirements without having the product team there. They can say, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this, or we can do that at the same time, and they build the tasks. And so these 3 requirements might yield 5 or 10 tasks. The developers then have in their sprint or their sprint backlog a list of tasks they need to do with priority given to them based upon the priority of the planning items themselves. Right. And the idea would be that the developers work out of the tasks component. It's called tasks right now, so it doesn't overlap with anything else. And yes, that is a technical challenge, calling something task in .NET. Hi, Mojo. What does a task look like where the developers see how far they can abstract out the behavior of their code? That's up to them, right? That's up to how do you break that down? How do you design that? But again, the goal is to make sure that we can create technical items that tie up to. So if you think about this from a Jira perspective, Jira has stories. Stories can have tasks. Tasks and stories all merge into one board, and we can't have a task created for 2 stories. So if we want something to exist in another board, so let's say there's a DevOps requirement of a say there's a DevOps need, try and know the word requirement, for a single requirement, you can't have a task out in DevOps and a task out in the development teams on the same story. It breaks. You can go out. You want to go out? I will be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, you can have a cookie, bud. Whoop. Loki. So sorry about that. So the idea here is the requirements are tied up to a planning item. They all relate to this thing. If different teams have different work to do, those tasks can still be created and tracked and visualized as towards their progress. So we don't need to know the developers. Hello, bud. Hello. Is it already time to say hello? Sorry, Loki wants to jump up and say hello to me. So once I get to the point where we can see the board, etc., I'm hoping that I can have um, people tinker with this and really get a feel for, is it feasible? Does it actually work? I think that will be a good measure. Oh, that knee does not like that twisting. So what we're going to do here is we're going to update the offsets. Let's set that back to 0. Yes. I want to integrate that task. So we're going to start that receivers up again. And it should subscribe and pull the, because it did try to do the insert. It just failed on the insert. There you go. We have a task. So created by user 2, and tenant ID 1. They added. Yeah, there we go. Create a new screen for the backlog. So we have a task. Woohoo, we have a task. Let's stop that running. Actually, so planning items view. Right, now pulls that together. So this is why I'm using views. So I'm using SQL views to allow me to pull the information back together for the GraphQL display. That technically doesn't need to be there. So yeah. Let's do new query console. So let's start from tasks. So we select tenant identifier. No, T dot U dot identifier identifier title T dot title T dot description, and then date added as. There's a way of doing this. That one at time zone UTC as date added. Last updated at time zone UTC as last updated. T join tenants tn on T dot tenant ID equals tn dot ID. Join users U on T dot T dot. And that would be so the thing is I don't need to so this view I don't need to do the join because I can do the join later. How do I do this? And again, if you are new to the stream, if you're interested in what I'm doing, if you would like to know more, you are more than welcome to ask. No, 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 you can't have that. You're good, bud. You're good. Don't know what that is, but you're not eating it. As I just wreck the place. Thank you for letting me have it. Good boy. So ads are going to start in 3 minutes. I do apologize if you are caught by ads. They do mean that we can keep pre-rolls off the stream. I run them for 2 minutes, so it keeps them off for 40 minutes at a time. So the way I use views, I'm pulling identifier here and tenant user, but the views themselves are probably need review. So that was users. So in user, I just have everything I need there for that. So again, I can navigate to the tenant. I can oh, I've got the tenant identifier. Project or planning item is probably the more. So I actually do join the other things in this view. And planning item view to view planning items requirements view has one planning item with requirements has key identifier. I'm questioning the join. Oh, okay. That's why I do it that way. So the reason I join on the GUID is because I'm joining the views together. So I'm kind of creating a set of views that control the information I'm actually exposing. That way I can expose the DB context for view down to the client, not have to control too much. If I link tenant via ID, then I have to hide the ID, I have to hide extra things. So that's probably why I've done that. So again, that gives me what I need, and now I can join. Yeah, I've got the join again anyway. So, but I'm joining the tenant's view or the planning or the user view on that. Hmm. That seems less than ideal. Thank you for the shout out for Mojo. Mojo just streamed again for the first time in a while, and should do more of them because it was good to watch someone go through the process of trying to learn more about unit testing and doing the kata, etc. The next phase of Liquid Sky, remind the developers an important meeting shouldn't be skipped. Is that what happened? Oh, that's terrible. That is terrible. Oof. So, come on. I wish I had better work. I wish I had anything for that, but that is horrendous. So the goal of this is that I can go and view projects, and then this exposes all the right joins, so I can pull as much information as I want. My concern is I'm just pulling. So if I go to projects, modify that view, or planning item, sorry. I join tenants to get tenant identifier. But I pull the okay, I pull the IDs of everything else. Okay, I do rely upon being able to do that. So I don't need that. I just need so I don't need that joined. I use tenant identifier. I need tenant identifier in the view because it allows me to narrow the data straight away. I can put a where tenant identifier straight away. That's why. But I can do t dot created by user ID and still join on the primary key of the table because I can just expose that as part of the view. Okay. So create view, new view. View is tasks view. There we go. Generate DDL to clipboard. I mean, honestly, I think if you have a meeting set up like that, Mojo, and nobody bothers showing up for it, it just tells you everything you know about their dedication to improving things. Like you'd set a meeting, you'd scheduled it. How can anything be more important unless the system was on fire and customers were running around screaming? There's very few reasons. Okay, so now we need to create the view aspect of this. And again, I'm being bad at commits. I need to be better. Create event for task integration. Hold on. That's actually a modification to that, isn't it? add extra fields to task integration event. Missing tenant and daytime info. Bigger Kafka topic for tasks. That's that. That's that. That's that. Consume task to view component. Create a script. Table. For create. So now let's go and create the view aspect of this. So again, we need another model here. Task, yes, task. This is not the same task as that task. This is the view version of the task because it has different fields, right? It has these fields. So these are not as yet standard. Although I'm starting to think some of them might be like those two. Title, description, created by user ID, daytime offset, daytime offset. There you go. It did know what I was talking about. Okay. Public virtual user, created by user. That gives us our navigational property there. So what we end up doing is we hide this internal ID at the GraphQL layer, so you can't actually see this. But if you want the user, you can get it still. Because if you ask for the information, it'll know that it's there. So to do that is easy because we have an implicit navigation property. It knows that the primary key of the user table is ID, and it knows that this field is the same as that name plus ID. Therefore, that must be the ID column. So Entity Framework makes that assumption for us. So from the GraphQL perspective, now we've introduced task as a view. Using task equals system threading task. That's to make that work. So I'm going to follow the same pattern here to make sure these still function properly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create query dot tasks. Let's see. And then that's partial. And then using task equals that. Using view task equals view domain dot entities dot view dot task. And ultimately, this looks like this. So you have authorize. This is view task, view DB context. That's tasks, which we'll get in a second. Get tasks. And add DB context. View DB context needs. Happy co-workers, I say. Run out of eggs. Oh no. task. Yeah. Too many carbs. Yeah. So I had managed to lose a little weight. I've been cutting out carbs, eating more proteins in the mornings and for lunches and stuff while doing karate. I had lost a little weight. Now I've hurt my knee, and I'm really hoping I can get this without having to go to the doctors and stuff. Because otherwise I will put that back on almost immediately. So all the progress I made will be undone. Because even if I keep the diet, I'm not doing the exercise, so I'm not even doing anything. So I've got to adjust that even more. Yeah. The joys of getting older. Okay, so does that mean uh, projects, internal projects? Does that build? Should that build? Yeah. Banana cake pop. Let's go and see if we can get that view. Let's see how much. I click that button every single time. It never does anything. It never downloads the latest update or whatever. So, new document. No. New document. Get tasks. Query. How do I do this thing? Tasks. Tasks. Go here. I really wish they made this easier. Also 300 friends by then. I used to practice speech each day, and I remember I had to myself while younger, it would take a few days to do. Now that I'm 40, it takes weeks. I stopped practicing. Yeah, I mean, I was doing sparring on Friday night, and I was feeling good. I mean, I took some hits and stuff, but I felt like I was moving okay, and I walked out of there without any pain or any injury, etc. And then I sat for a little while waiting for my daughter, and I went to get up, and I couldn't move. My leg was hurting. So yeah, that was all she wrote. Okay, so this is breaking because it's out of configuration. Doesn't know what that is. Stop that running. Off to work. Delta, have a great day. Thank you for sharing that thing earlier on. That was good. So we need to do configuration. That's the problem. So in our configuration here, we need a task configuration. And this is a entity type configuration of task, which is that one. And then we do yeah, that's the challenge. Come on. Tasks view. So we have our tasks view. There you go. Now we should be able to start this. Let's see if it does any better. Okay. I have to finish on time today. Um, I have a I have a morning full of meetings, so I cannot overrun. So I'm really hoping I get to finishing this. Hey, good girl. Yeah, your sister. Good girl. You had cookies before, bud. There you go. You're a very good boy, but you don't just get cookies for looking cute. Um, Back. I was talking to my neighbor on testing. I still think the iterative one would be cool. I don't know where to stop on the refactoring. I mean, honestly, what are you refactoring for? Is the code clean? Is it understandable? Are the patterns that are, thank you for the look, Dan. And I appreciate the raid. Thank you very much for that this morning. Um, Cookies, does chat get cookies? Maybe. Come on, Mr. Anhorn. Okay, so we've got that running. Come on. Yes. We have created by, so you see how it has user ID there? Um, I gotta remember I don't need commas in GraphQL. So I can do that, but I can also right now access the ID and I don't want to expose that. That reminds me of the time we got a pound of free sample dog cookies. Nice. At this point, because I can't. There's creative and there's over engineering something. So if the code's readable, the code does what it's asked to do, and it's clean enough. You want to get into the habit of stopping and refactoring when you need. Um, if you introduce a new pattern and things get messy again, you can assess that then. But you don't want to drive yourself crazy with optimization. My dog started throwing them on the floor and walk away. I want another cookie. Yeah, I don't think Loki's going to do that. I think Loki should be known as Nunu. You're a vacuum, aren't you? Yes, you are. Um, so what we can do here is we can do a view type configuration and we can add a task type. And in here, we create another type of task where task is that and override configure descriptor dot field f goes to f dot created by user ID ignore. So we can just tell it to not bother with that one. Not my first. She's so picky. These two are not picky. They will eat anything, and I mean anything. So my daughter dropped something. I don't know what this is. I don't know where this is from. It's definitely. It's probably off a hat by the looks of it, but it's definitely not a dog toy. And they were ready for eating that. It's like a pom pom off a hat. And even now, Loki's trying to look and get hold of that. Right, bud? Sorry. I fidget a lot and my knee. I keep twisting my knee around and it hurts. I thought it was a troll wig. It does look like a troll, doesn't it? I think it's a pom pom off a hat. I think my daughter's probably just caught something. Or she's decided she don't want the pom pom on the hat. Okay, you lump. Just sat on my leg. Okay, so we just need to then go in here and add type of task type. Now we start that up again. So I think we'll get to the point of displaying this in the screen today, as opposed to displaying it on the piece of paper in front of me. So you should still be able to run that, and that works fine. Yeah. But if we try and now do created by, we can't see ID. So we've hidden ID. That's the point. So we can navigate. It will give us the query. So we'll get the join there. We don't have to do that. We've created that navigation property, and that works. So that's cool. Okay, next step. Commit that. Create view components. You gotta think of some naming here because I have the view for tasks to provide to. Okay, so now over here in our tasks, we can create a new component. This is backlog. So I've been contemplating what this looks like the last couple of days, and I've really been trying to figure out how this workflow should go. Should I how deep should I worry about dictating the workflow? Because I have some ideas as to how this is going to function. I have some visions as to how I want this to function. But then should I try and in which direction should I go? Should I go the let's add more detail to task? Is there value in that right now? I don't have any filtering or reporting or whatever, so I don't think so. Obviously, there's the challenge of alerting and changes, etc. That's going to take its own sweet time. That's going to be an entire journey unto itself. So the more I do now, the harder that job gets initially because there's a lot more to deal with. Whereas if I tackle that at a different time, then I could have little pieces and then add in. Or do I worry about uh just getting the bare minimum in, sticking it in to the relevant places, and kind of figuring out how usable this is? Because I get a feeling for the usefulness, right? So the idea is here we're gonna have a backlog screen. This is the board. So the backlog, right? That's the current planning items board. But we're going to have tasks, and this is going to be the backlog. So I haven't figured out all the relevant use cases, but I think what I'm going to focus on is keeping it as it is right this second, going to planning, introducing the ability to do the promote planning item to developer tasks. So we'll kind of come back around on this shortly. And I mean shortly, like tomorrow, not shortly, like in the next few minutes, and kind of task out or build the requirements for this component to say what we expect, and then build the tasks for those requirements and see how it works, and just kind of keep semi dog fooding it. Um, See how it feels. See, I put projects on here, but I'm not sure I want to do projects. I think that goes away right this second. And that's sufficient for testing this out. So let's get that in there. So task routes. have path, backlog, back, log component. I think that's how I do it in planning, right? Planning routes. We don't use the slash. Okay. Slash required. Backlog itself is going to go there. That ends up in I'm interested to understand what the future of Angular looks like with standalone components. Like, what does it mean differently from? I'm creating a module right now, but it's the intention that you just create a bunch of components and stick them together. Whereas modules kind of give you that grouping behavior. I wonder if there's a performance challenge, a performance difference, or whatever. An SSL search you. Shall we give it to Findle if you enjoy? Nice. Thank you for the insights there. Yeah, Findle is a great streamer. Source of all sorts of knowledge. Some random. But another great place to go and hang out. So backlog, dashboard. So again, our layout for tasks is going to have that button, and that is going to be board. Right now, that's backlog. And not going to blind everyone with the icon screen. Still want to figure out Thindle's a good question. You have a I thought I had a bad attention span. You have a very bad like focus. Prime NG. Because you see a problem and you just want to go chase after it all the time. And there's a limit to how much you can do that. Something in our route now requires a cell. I think it was Cloudflare. Uh, um, 4 5. That is a it's good advice in general. I'm heavily medicated for it. I get it. I do get it. I mean, you've watched the stream enough, you've talked to me enough, you know I have some of my own attention problems, but I think I kind of pick and choose things these days a bit more. Uh, if it's just done an SSL cert for the server, look, it's all Pulumi, so a few lines and it Pulumi up and it was all fixed. Nice. You know, skim through when it sounds like he really wants a separate branch for test. That's different. I went and looked deep enough to understand that it is something people can achieve and do. I just don't understand the need to put test data into certain branches. I don't that just seems like a risk to me that could get merged through. So I'm just looking for an appropriate kind of icon that represents a backlog. Right this second. Again, I'm worrying about icons when I barely care about the design. Gonna use for the backlog. The shopping bag. Okay, so we go to the task system. We go to the shopping bag. Oh, let's go into tasks. Backlog. Git is hard, the less I have to use fancy Git commands, the better. I agree. Backlog works. The door's open. You can go outside anytime you want. There's water in there. What's the matter? What's the matter? I'll be right back. I'm back. Sorry about that. Loki got a cookie. There was only one, so I gave Taylor a different cookie. And then Loki's looking at me like, "No, that's not fair." They're getting a bit of an argument with the dogs. I didn't write it, but I often sit here and ask, what is it doing that the framework couldn't do better? Oh, sorry. I'm missing a conversation there. I know basics of CLI. I'm also use VS's Git extension. Knowledge stops at VS Code extension. Oh, and GitHub desktop. It does make me less than elite, but I don't mind that at all. Again, there's like learn what you need when you need to learn it. I just feel there's a much more practical way of approaching some things. Question: since you took the traditional route, how would you feel if you saw a directory for data structures and another for algorithms? Yeah. Nice working a lot of repos and jumping between PRs and branches. Yeah. One of the things I like about this, and Mojo and I kind of figured out, is with Liquid Sky, we can actually have so the foundation library is a separate repository, but I can include it as a folder in here, even though it completely refers to a completely different directory, and have both repositories tracked in here. So I like the UI. Yeah, that's someone being quirky. Okay, so backlog component, backlog works. we have a store for tasks. So we now need a query component, right? Um, sorry. Because I'm going to add yet more in here, I'm going to break down the features the same way. Stores, features. So you can do, when you're building these signal stores, you can add these features or you can just add them in line, right? So I have the task store and I say, oh, with methods, right? But I can actually say with features. So features, TypeScript file, um, tasks query feature.ts. Hey Napalm, how's it going? Good morning. Index. So we do, to do that, we do export function. Got my Mac brain already on with tasks query, the signal store feature. Oh, I guess my initial assumption would be that the author had a need to write their own implementation and were happy enough with it that they didn't need to bother with any new developments in the framework. So they use it as their plug and play approach at the beginning of a project. The project wasn't built that long ago. A lot of that stuff didn't exist. That's the problem. From my understanding of it. TypeScript file, index.ts, export star from task query feature. And then in here, do with methods. So essentially doing that with methods. So now in here, we can do with task query, and it will extend that behavior so we can kind of compose a store off of many pieces, is my understanding. And we're going to mimic something else. Load all here. So load all goes to the service. We don't have the concept of current right this second, so that's not relevant. Service fetch all we'll get to in a second. So there's one piece we did miss before on the view side of things that is very important. So I did this, but I need to do where t goes to t dot tenant identifier equals user dot get tenant identifier. Otherwise, I'm going to pull all the tasks all the time. And the problem with not being able to, not easily transitioning between tenants, or rather not making it a part of my normal workflow, is I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep missing that. So when it comes time to actually testing this application, one of the key things I'm going to want to focus on is that tenancy is respected where I expect it to be respected. Sadly, today is a sea of unit tests. I expect to do more. How are you writing? Why? A sea of unit tests. Are you kind of in reinforcing an older system, or yeah? They were fresh out of school when they wrote it. The code has been using it for 5-ish years. I've seen a few editions from the past couple of years. Reinventing wheels is okay because it helps you understand some of the concepts as well. Reinventing a wheel. It's just when you understand that the wheel already existed, it's probably time to go back and use some optimized and hopefully better tested components. So on the service here, we need public fetch all, but that's not going to go to that. That's going to go to planning item service. So our GraphQL queries are down here. Our fetch all looks like this. Fetch all here goes there. And then, so we're going to get rid of that one. We'll get to that in a second. I got defaults, CAC, tasks. Blah, 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 blah. It's a brand new system. We opt to write tests after finishing the design. Doing it during giving some opinion thoughts, so it would result in a lot of rewriting, tossing. Opt to not write them until things have settled a bit. Okay. I really don't like the we make allowance. I mean, I'm not digging at you, Napalm. I'm just saying in general we do it as a group. We kind of deal with the opinionated people. We kind of accept them as being difficult and we make allowances for them. I think difficult people, like lazy people, should be given the same options as everyone else. Get in line with what the team's doing, or like if the team agrees to doing something, then I think, yeah, maybe I'm just being idealistic. It's not as I expected it to be, is it? What am I missing? That's not that my team will write tests later. Meanwhile, we have fudged our last two deployments because we don't understand how users use our platform. I get that writing tests first is a discipline, and you see me not do it all the time. And sometimes I'll write tests afterwards. Sometimes I'll sit here and write tests. I know I've added dozens of tests, like sat here on a Saturday night, off stream, right? So I'm not necessarily a you must do TDD, but in the same when we have difficult members of the team, when we have team members that there's two types of team members that are particularly hard to deal with: the apathetic ones and the opinionated ones, right? If the opinionated ones happen to be the seniors, it often overrides any junior opinions, and then they get their way. And I think it's bad. I think it's like enabling a child, right? When they throw a fit, if you give them what they want, yes, I've been on the end of that. I've experienced that. So, is that just because there's an extra color? Yeah, it's just because one extra color is. So, I think it's dangerous to enable that. And apathetic team members are dangerous in that they're the ones that just sit there and just accept everything and then go off and do their own thing anyway, or they'll not really follow along with the patterns, so it's more dangerous. What about the aspiring product owners that put buttons where they feel best? You're a dangerous type in Tyler. I love having conversations with opinionated developers for selfish reasons. First, it gives me the opportunity to consider other points of view that I wouldn't necessarily consider myself. The second, it can also validate, reinforce my understanding of a topic. However, I do not like being on a team with opinionated developers whose values and judgments are very different from my own. There's nothing wrong with being opinionated. That's my opinion. It's normally those opinionated developers don't like to give. So they have a strong opinion about something. Sometimes there's no basis for it. Sometimes it's just they don't like doing it. Um, yes, thank you very much. I just saw the thank you. That had the desired result. So I just want to do one thing. Um, so it's dangerous to do that because give in to people is just eh. Ugh, I don't like this pattern. This is just not what I want it to do. Responses. I don't have the luxury of making this take too much longer. Responses. Responses. Let's not mistype that again. TypeScript file. I've got to review this pattern. Tasks. List response. That's tasks. And that's task. Import from that models. And that's tasks list response. And this is so I can do here, and I can do that. And that goes there. It makes me look like the bad guy, though, being difficult if I'm the one to constantly push back. And yes, and approach to disagreeing with people what's best for me. Yeah, I've found the most opinionated people in my experience have been the people that get their way in the code and um don't want to go in a different direction because they've made up their mind on how something should work already. And I've been there. I've been the opinionated person who had an opinion, had a strong opinion and a design in mind going into a conversation. And luckily, I had enough people that I work with that were able to say, no, that's not a good idea. We don't get everything right. We don't, nothing, we're not perfect. So, sometimes you don't see the wood for the trees. Sometimes you are focused on something because of past experience and it can trip you up. So opening your mind and being willing to accept a different approach or a different opinion is a key aspect of what we do. I certainly feel this when I'm working in the teams I was referring to. My approach is to raise my concern and give enough pushback to hopefully have them question the direction. The opinion usually wins out since I don't push very hard. Yeah, which validates them. That's the problem. Like, I get why you don't. I'm not saying you should, like, oh no, you're wrong. You need to do this. It's like, but it validates them, and that's the challenge. This guy's all in on mediator. He thinks if the mediator handler layers replaces the service layer, that you don't need a service layer, but then your data code is tightly coupled to the handler along with intertwining the business logic. I'm not a fan. So it's funny. I was watching Andreas use mediator yesterday with fast endpoints, I think. Well, actually, I was using fast endpoints and using that. And I haven't gone that deep on fast endpoints. So to me, there's a handoff point. So I use fast endpoints to receive the request, and then I hand off to mediator to do the actual mediation part. I don't use the fast endpoints features there. And then my handlers do basic interactions, but if it gets more complicated, like it needs to touch multiple things or call multiple things, then I create a service to hand that off to so that it's got that responsibility tightened up, and then the handler is just a basic So for most CRUD stuff, I use the handler. But again, that's kind of a pattern. But I don't like using mediator for everything. You shouldn't be the smartest person in the room, essentially, at least to learn from each other. Manoj, by the way, sorry, hello. I did not say hello. I do apologize. I did see your name and I didn't say hello. Morning. I need to. Um, I certainly don't validate them. I still voice that I'm not comfortable with the approach. Cuts off the rest of the response and hopes that you can stick to your desired end on time. Thank you very much for keeping me focused on that. I'm doing what I normally do, right? Um, these people just switching away from doing .NET Dev right as you want to raid them out. They were doing .NET Dev when you started, but no, we can't be doing that now. Yeah, I think that's the source really. I think there is room for both service layer and mediator, but again, this is way or no way. Yeah, I don't like joining the two together. Too much. And I especially don't like the idea of going all in on using something like fast endpoints to go all the way through to my database. I kind of like disconnect, but again, that's maybe when I see someone's implementation, I'm thinking, there's a benefit. But again, that's the challenge. Okay. Okay. As much as I want to finish this out, and I love how we start a discussion about this sort of stuff now. But I do have to leave because I do have a meeting straight at 9:30, so I've got to make sure the dogs are settled and stuff before I do that. I'm going to finish up this after later on today and get the tasks displaying on the screen. So tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the process of transitioning a planning item, right? So I don't know if we'll get much code done. But the idea will be we'll talk about getting the promotion of a planning item to say, okay, I want to create 5 tasks from this. I want to do this, 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 and this, and these are the tasks I want to do, and how they tie up. And then we'll start to realistically, what I want to do is I want to get to that point so I can demonstrate it, and then we can talk about the practicalities of that. How does it align to work? How does it do that? So yeah, so there might be a bit more discussion tomorrow, but I will really appreciate. So I could give opinions. I would appreciate people's opinions on how that flows. So yeah. Take care all. Thank you very much for hanging out. Napalm, no worries about the squirrel. I really do appreciate conversation on this stream. It's not all about the software development. It's about everything we do. Um, so absolutely. Mr. Jones, thank you very much for the look. Thank you for coming and hanging out today. And yeah, one line, thank you very much for being my mod. Don't forget, if you haven't been there before, he won't shout himself out because self-promotion would be difficult, I would imagine. However, One Line is also a .NET developer and a great streamer and is doing all sorts of cool stuff, which is currently starting to change. So I'm not going to try and promote that. So take care all. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you again tomorrow, hopefully. And yeah, bye all.